All right, you guys, welcome back to another U150 video. Today we are going to be discussing a very important topic when it comes to U150, and that's the ban list. We're going to talk about it again. We already kind of did, but there's been
hmm
some new stuff that has triggered Grady and I, uh,
Yes.
and we're ready to talk about it. We're ready to
We're mad
talk.
as hell.
We are mad as hell. Oh man. I told Grady I got home and just yelled at my roommate like for no reason. I was just like, do you know what's going on in my life right now? This is controlling that. I was sitting in art class just fuming. Uh, um, so there was this post on the Pokemon TCG U150 page that they sponsor where it was like, hey, we have a tier list for all of the playable GXs. And for the most part, this tier list isn't bad. Like I would say, there are some things, but like, hey, I think it's pretty all right. Wouldn't you agree? We discussed it a little bit.
I mean, that's not really the point here.
That's not really the point. No, the point is that none of these GXs are playable because Porygon-Z exists. You can Porygon-Z all of their GXs away so that they just keep losing their turn and you eventually win. Like GXs are just straight unplayable, right?
hmm
And that's in part to Porygon-Z. That's not the only reason that we want Porygon-Z banned, but it's definitely one of them.
hmm
So rewinding a little bit, I mean, I don't know where to go from here because there's our thesis statement. We want Porygon-Z banned. Period.
hmm
Like now.
I just think it's
Um,
kind of indicative that they're kind of clueless because they post like, "Oh, here's this GX tier list," when in reality, none of them have been playable since Porygon Z has been a thing, and they don't seem to realize that. And I don't know what else to say.
yeah, no, for serious. I forgot about one thing before we were talking. This Porygon-Z effect is nothing new.
hmm
Um, this Omastar was out. Yes, it's only bench Pokemon. You put them back in your hand. But the Porygon-Z effect is not new at all, right? Pyro Swirl's essentially the same thing.
hmm
Porygon-Z is strictly better, but Omastar is a thing. Now, the reason that Porygon-Z is so busted in an effect is because it's ease of access. We have determined over here at Under Spokane that there needs to be a 2-2 or at least a 1-1 Porygon line in every single deck.
hmm
And we've done this through extensive testing, through the 64 deck tournament, through playing, like, there was a time where Grady and Kyle were playing every single day. Like,
I I guarantee you that me and you have played the most games of this format out of anyone in the entire world.
guaranteed, 100%, easily. That's not close. Um, and from our background as being quote unquote competitive players,
Yeah.
um, my success with worlds invites and regionals is half attributed to me and half attributed to Grady because he did all my testing
Oh.
for me. Like,
Hey, I have a world's invite too.
you do, yeah. But I mean, like, all of my personal success wouldn't be possible without Grady, right?
Aw.
So legitimately, I think we know what we're talking about. I think we have the stats to back up, like, yeah, we play Pokemon and we're fucking good at it.
hmm
Um, and so we've kind of adopted UN50 as our little, like, oh, this is our little thing. Like, it's a really fun
Yeah.
format. But the people who run UN50 just don't.
It's
Like,
just very it's so frustrating because this format has like ruined standard and expanded for me. Like I go back and I try to play those formats and I'm like, wow, this is so linear. This is very at the risk of sounding very pretentious, this is very I don't know, it's just not nearly as complicated and there's not as many opportunities to make cool plays, I think.
oh no,
And
100%.
I don't know, it's just they just no one seems to they don't seem to cultivate this format and pay attention to it and give it the respect it deserves in my opinion.
Exactly. So we're here to say that uh, Porygon needs to be banned. Like,
Yes.
and that I think that this is kind of a call, like we're calling out the U150 people saying you guys need to give a little bit more of a shit. Like, I think this format's grown more in the last year than it has ever,
Yeah.
primarily due to uh, a name being attached to it. I've written articles for Poke Beach and
hmm
post them on the friggin' front page. At Oregon Regionals, I had many people coming up to me being like, "Hey, I built a
Yeah.
U150 deck. Let's fucking play."
There's definitely an audience for this. I mean, you look at Magic, and I think yes, you can say that on the whole, Magic people are probably more interested in alternate formats, but U150 is like a Magic staple. People go to straight U150 tournaments like it's a format.
EDH.
People if they ask, yeah, EDH, sorry. People ask like, do you want to play? And people are like, oh, what do you want to play? Standard, expanded, EDH. Like everyone just has an EDH deck. Like there's definitely a market there if they do this right. Like,
but they're doing it wrong. Um,
yeah.
so, anyways, I think that's enough of that. Like, we just kind of need to delve into why Porygon-Z needs to be number one on the ban list, not the suspect list. There is a list that they've created called the suspect list where they quote unquote monitor and test stuff, which
Hmm.
personally I don't believe they're actually monitoring and testing anything. Like that seems weird to me because they're prepared to ban Lysander Prism Star before even testing it. Um,
That's another
Granted,
topic.
yeah, but granted, like Grady and I are like, yeah, let's put that on the suspect list, but it's not out yet. Like,
Yeah.
test the card first. I don't think they're actually testing these cards.
Yeah.
Clefable's been on their suspect list for like a year and a half now.
Yeah.
Like, like what? So, Porygon-Z needs to be banned not only because of the GX thing, but because it's a skillless card. Um, I think when you bring up the topic of banning cards, why do you ban cards? And I think the number one reason a lot of people point to is no counterplay,
Hmm.
or it takes out like an aspect of winning the game somehow, right? Like that's
Yeah.
like the two reasons why, or it's like splashable into everything and
I
everything
mean,
wins it.
I think a third reason is something like it doesn't add anything to the experience for like either player. Like I don't feel good when I like am losing 7-1 and I N and Porygon-Z someone. It's
Right.
just it doesn't add. I don't know. It just makes both people feel like, wow, this is shitty. Like neither player feels good when this shit
Yeah.
happens.
It's a skillless art to
Yeah.
initialize end someone and then win the game. I was playing a game against a buddy at work, Alex, other Alex, and he played Pokemon like once upon a time, like he barely knows the rules, sort of thing. And he was like, "Hey, I want to try U150," and I was like, "Oh yeah, let me show you." So we were playing around. I was kind of helping him out a little bit, and I was like, "Hey, if you initialize N here, you could put me down to one card." He had 8 prizes and I had one, right? Like, because we were just kind of showing. I was like, "Hey, if you initialize N, like, and I draw dead for 8 straight turns, you win."
Hmm.
And guess what? Like, that's a dude that has played maybe like 5 games of Pokemon in his life, and I
Yeah.
told him to do this combo and he won. And that was
I
like,
mean, it just invalidates the rest of the game. Like you can go up 7-1 and it doesn't make a difference.
nope, not at all. So, and because like I said, Omastar exists, but you're not going to tech a stage two into everything. Like we don't see
Yeah.
teched stage twos into nearly anything, really.
Yeah.
And if you're going to tech a stage two, you should probably just tech in Pidgeot, Fire, Lead, Reef, Green.
Yeah.
Like that's the one you'd probably do. So like it's not like this is a new effect, but the ease of access because Porygon is so prevalent in
Yeah.
all the quote unquote good U150 decks. Um, it's so ease of access. Like top tier decks
Yeah.
should play Porygon too. Period.
Hmm.
We've taken our lists and we've taken the U150 pages lists, like the stuff that wins their tournaments, and played them against each other. Right? You have two really good players playing against each other, and the only difference is one is a well-rounded, refined deck, and another one's a deck from the UK.
Yeah.
Like both even skill players, and like the refined decks win every time. And one of the
Yeah.
big differences is this 2/2 Porygon line that's in every single deck.
Yeah.
So Porygon-Z just needs to be banned. Period. Like Grady and I are gonna stop playing the format if it doesn't get banned soon.
Well,
And
it's not even that. I think we're just gonna stop playing with this. We're just gonna assume it's banned between us.
yeah, I will. That is if it's not banned by the summer, I think our 32 deck tournament we just don't play Porygon-Z.
Hmm.
And I think I posted somewhere that's saying like I don't want to split rule sets, like have the UK version of U150 and the US version of U150. But like if that's what it's gonna take to make this format fun again, then like yeah,
To quote a great man, make U150 great again.
U150 great again, barf. Um, we're gonna quickly go over some other stuff that we think should be on the suspect list and the ban list. The only other card that we think should be a guaranteed ban is Bronzong Break. We haven't really talked about
Yeah.
it much because it is kind of a niche thing. It's not a splashable thing. It's just a very very unfair deck
Yeah.
because of this Magnezone that came out in Ultra Prism.
Yeah.
It just like all you need is 6 energies on this thing to knock out an opponent's Porygon 2 and Claydol. And you
Kind of
can,
unfortunate because Ronzoing Break is a cool card in and of itself, but
yeah, like this either needs to go on some sort of like limit list where you can't play Magnezone and Bronzong Break in a deck,
hmm
or Bronzong Break just needs to be banned.
yeah, one of the two.
One of the two. Or Magnezone needs to be banned. Screw it. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I'm not really super attached to this Magnezone. Like
Yeah.
this has some cool stuff with that extra energy bomb. So like Like 6 energies is a Mount Coronet and a superior energy retrieval.
Yeah.
That's that, that's so easy to hit.
Yeah, this one's just kind of unfortunate because they're both really cool cards. It's just they have a weird interaction that's broken.
Yep, way broken. Other cards that I want to just quickly run down this because the point of this video was to ban Porygon-Z period in discussion. Also, yeah, we should ban Porygon or Bronzong Break. But if it were up to us, this is stuff that we should talk about as a suspect list, meaning that like more testing needs to be done. Grady and I were planning on sitting down eventually and playing decks without these cards and see how they feel.
Wait, this is not on the suspect list.
No,
What?
no, 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 no. I was getting there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Professor Oak's one of them, and this one's more pitched by you, so I'm gonna let you take the lead on that one.
I mean, I don't know how you can say this is on the suspect list. We've been playing this with this card for like since the inception of this format.
Right. Well, I'm not ready to ban it yet.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think you lose anything by banning it. I think you gain more from banning it than you lose from like keeping it, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like it just enables really stupid broken turns and it enables like donk decks and it enables you to just like dig through like 30, 40 cards a turn, oak, item finder, oak, junk arm, oak. I mean,
Right.
I don't know, just the power level of this card is just so far above everything else. And I mean, you can say like every deck has equal access to this card, but like,
But every deck has equal access to Porygon-Z.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. This card isn't like ruining the format or anything, but I just think it enables a lot of broken shit and it makes turns go on way longer than they should.
Right. No, I mean, I'm okay with trying it out, without it being there just to see how I feel about it. I think that's the one thing that's keeping me from being like, yeah, I'm on board.
Right.
It's just I haven't played a deck without it yet. And just,
Yeah.
So,
I mean, just think of how many turns you've oaked item finder, oak, junk arm,
too
oak, and
many.
gone through like
Too many.
30, 40 cards. Like,
Yeah. No, way too many.
and then trump card, do it again. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's. Yeah, no. Like I said, I think the more I've actually talked about it, like here, I'm more lenient to it.
yeah.
So, we have discovered that the item locking Vileplumes are kind of busted. Um,
hmm
I still want to like do some more testing with it. I was able to beat it this weekend. Yeah, it was against a guy who has been playing U150 for not very long.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, he played it relatively correctly.
And
Um,
ironically, if Porygon-Z is banned, that bolsters Vileplume a lot, I
oh, it
feel like.
very much does because like I was able to draw into Bebe's search to get Porygon-Z to de-evolve so I could play items.
Yeah.
So without Porygon-Z, I think Vileplume just becomes instantly better and probably should consider very much so being on the ban list. Unless, so Vileplume, Ancient Origins, Vileplume, Undaunted, but I think there's an argument that you keep Dark Vileplume merely because
Yeah.
it has 60 HP.
Which is hilarious to me.
I know, which the most glooms you're going to evolve and lose HP.
Yeah.
Like, this is fine. I think this is balanced because then that gives you like a Lysander Guzma kill out, whereas
Yeah.
130 is a much harder number to hit
Yeah, under item lock.
under item lock, but 60 is way easy under item lock. Shoot.
Yeah. I think this one's hard to say because I think we need to like talk about this assuming Porygon-Z is banned, and that is going to warp the power level of Vileplumes a little bit, I think.
Oh, yeah. Porygon-Z ban makes this Vileplume really good.
Yeah.
So, I want to talk about that one last, I suppose. Clefairy, I think we talked about this in our last video a little bit. I don't want to make this one too long. How long is this? 13 minutes, sweet. We talked about Clefable being on the suspect list, and this Clefairy is what enables that Clefable.
hmm
I think Clefable is like as much, more or less balanced because it doesn't work for everything. There were some attacks
Yeah.
that Clefable is really good for, and some attacks that is just awful. But the thing that enables Clefable is this Clefairy because of Moonstone.
Yeah. Um, it just doesn't allow any counterplay because you can just prop down a 1/1 Clefable line and your opponent
It's the fact that
can't really see it coming.
the fact that it's splashable.
I think if you wanted to like talk about banning Clefable, I think banning this Clefairy is like a weird but like more subtle way to tone down that power level a little bit.
Yep, I think it's more fair because now you can't
Yeah.
just splash in a 1/1 Clefairy line and go like Rescue Stretcher, Dowsing Machine, Rescue Stretcher,
Yeah.
and get your combo back and one shot him again.
Yeah.
So I think this Clefairy is more balanced to ban than that. Luxio is another one. You go for it.
It's just hilarious to me that like in a vacuum you're like, wow, this card does not look very impressive, but in the context of this format, it's the scariest motherfucker you'll ever play
Yeah.
against. Like,
Like I initially thought that 80 HP wasn't a bunch,
yeah.
and like I'm still kind of wavering on that. But yeah, disconnect being splashed into any deck because of colorless,
Hmm.
pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah, and there's the Sphinx that lets you evolve turn one and do it too. So
Yeah, if you can hit it.
yeah,
So Luxio, I think it needs to be looked at. I'm not ready to be like, oh yeah, let's ban it tomorrow. But I'm willing to like sit down and be like, okay, let's look at this,
yeah.
because my
I mean,
experience with it personally hasn't been your level
yeah.
of experience, so I still don't know.
Um, yeah, it's just very obnoxious when you like have rescue energy or something like that, and then you literally like if your opponent disconnects turn one or two, you're not going to get items the rest of the game unless you have ranger or some shit.
Right, which is weird to have.
Yeah.
And the only
Uh,
other disconnect that's like in format is Substrika, which is much harder to.
yeah, and that's lightning colorless. So I think that is like totally balanced, but I think
Oh
this
yeah,
is like it if not for sure, man, I think we need to like test it and have a discussion about it.
for sure. Tapu Koko was one we talked about last time. I don't think it needs to be hashing.
Yeah.
Free Retreat, 110 HP, non-EX basic. That can attack for DCE, 20 to everything. Spread, I think, between you and I have become a lot less prevalent because of
Yeah.
Pokemon Center and Mr. Mime.
It's been a lot
So,
of spread hate.
yeah, a lot of spread hate. So, like, this is being toned down a lot. So, last time we talked about this, we wanted to bring it up again. But,
I don't know, counter energy made this a little better too.
yeah, I think it's just low on the suspect list. Probably the lowest, to be
Yeah.
honest. And then another interesting one that Grady brought up is Broken Time Space. This is the last one before we take off. But,
Hmm.
Grady, take it away.
So I think the main argument like against this is if you ban broken time space, stage one decks just become even stronger and like the best thing in the format.
Yes.
But I think one of the this kind of also goes hand in hand with the Porygon-Z because a lot of like the really busted like Porygon 2 like broken time space into the Z and then like devolve, you get three supporters that turn, disc or like devolve again, junk arm like Devo spray again, and you get like four supporters in a turn. I
Right.
think that's part of the reason why this is kind of busted, but at the same time, it's going to really hamstring stage two decks, which
It
is kind
will.
of
And that's the
this.
one
This
thing.
is just hard for me because it like there's things that I want to hit that really abuse this card, but it's also going to hit a lot of things that use it in a different way that I
Yeah.
don't think is bad for the format. So
Kind of like an innocent bystander sort of thing, whereas like we really want to nerf the power of download and Claydol and many other things like bats
yes,
and that sort of thing. But at the same time, yeah, stage two decks just become
yes,
much harder to play.
yeah, this is a hard one because it's there's some things it just enables a lot of really busted shit, but it also is like completely necessary for all the stage two decks. So
I think Grady and I need to go and really actually test this thing, not just say it's on a suspect list and let it sit there for a year and a half.
yeah.
I think we actually need to test it. Zing.
Uh, and
Um,
this might be different if Porygon-Z is done too. That
I
might
think so.
change my thoughts on this. So
Yeah, maybe me too. Just because then you're not gonna just then you're not instantly including Devo spray and everything.
right,
I still think you actually might still play it though.
and then just go from the Porygon into the Porygon 2 again.
I suppose.
Another thing I really don't like with this is that it allows you to get Luxio turn after turn with no effort.
Right.
But that's
But
something you probably haven't experienced as
it's
much.
not no. But like you could also just like play a second Shanks.
I mean, yeah, but it's
Like
easier with the bench space and shit.
and see
Like,
that's an argument for stage two because if Broken Time Space comes out and you're playing a stage one rush deck, then like you just like Broken Time Space comes out for a second of your stage one attackers.
oh, oh. Also, you didn't put Oricorio on this list, or did you not think it needs
Oh
to be on this list?
no, I don't think it needs to be on this list. I think
Cool.
it's one below Tapu Koko in terms of discussion because you can play around it. Um, the other day
I mean,
I was playing the stage one conservative stage one rush deck, and like I was just never worried about Oricorio. I was like, let it hit the
yeah,
field. Like I don't give a shit. Like I was never scared of it. And like in other decks too. Like I'm playing along and I'm just like, man, if he drops Oricorio here, like I'm still not worried.
okay, that's
Like
fair.
I'm never scared of it. So, but that's just me because I don't know. I thought about it, I suppose. But anyways, this video has gone longer than I guess I intended to. Um,
They usually do.
they usually do. I think Porygon-Z should be banned. I think that the U150 people need to get their head out of their ass and actually care about this format.
Yeah.
Or like we're gonna create U100 or something. I don't know. Call it a
Yikes.
better name, I suppose.
U150, new U150. It's like new Pepsi or some shit.
New Pepsi. Is there anything else before?
Makes me sad that no one plays this format.
Well, no, I think it's growing. It's definitely growing. Um, I know you didn't go to Portland, but it's 100% growing.
Yeah.
Um, let me see if there's unhealthy format of counterplay. Why do you ban cards in the first place? We played our decks versus theirs. Okay, yeah, cool. We've grown in the last. Yeah, all of my talking points I hit. So
Sweet.
ban PORYGON-Z, or we're gonna riot.
You don't want that.
We don't want that. Goodbye.
Thank you.